Hey, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Sales Team Ready podcast, where everything is possible, where there is no such thing as limits or obstacles, only opportunities, right? That there's nothing but the mountaintop to be reached. This podcast is for the people who know that they are sold out to something more, for those who desire the mountaintop more than anything. Just needing a plan and partner in a community to be able to achieve it. Before we start, I want to make sure that you go to my personal website, jimp360.com. Connect with me. You can find me on all my social medias, videos, resources, how to find us, how to get access to our books, the promotions and things that are coming, ways to work with us, ways to work for us, etc. Everything all in one location at jimp360.com. I'd love to see you there.
Really, what we're going to be diving into today is the roadmap for a successful launch. And so I'm going to be opening up this my screen right here. Can all of you see this? Amazing. And so, if you have questions, post them in the chat during it. We could dive into it, and let's make this as interactive as possible, and let's make this as valuable as possible for you guys. And so, we're going to go into some sort of like general stuff, and we can get as specific as you all want to get to. And so if you want to go deeper, if you have questions about certain things, I hear a lot of you really want to fill your event that's coming up right now. And so as we're getting through this, if you have specific questions around filling your event, we can dive into that. But I'm going to go ahead and start this off. So the roadmap to a successful launch. And I know Jim shared a little bit about, my experience, but obviously we're running a company called Beyond the Peak. You can see our logo here. And really we help coaches go beyond the peak in their launches. And so what that looks like is we'll partner with them to map out their launch strategy. We'll help them map out their funnel strategy. We'll help them map out, get their team aligned on what they're actually going for, and then we'll build the sales team to ensure that we really kick the launch out of the park. And so, very similar to what Jim's got going on in his company, Gain the Edge. And here's what I've learned through doing a lot of these really successful launches, multi-six-figure launches, where we, talk to a lot of people. I mentioned before, we have 1,000 people coming onto our webinars today. And so hopefully I'll be able to translate some of that wisdom to you guys. What we found is your launch success is really going to be determined by two main things. That's the energy of your output, which is one, and two, the strategy of your output. Now, I'll go ahead and be the first to say that, after being in this internet marketing industry for the last decade, most people ignore the energy of your output and try to only focus on the strategy of the output. And then they wonder why things keep breaking. And generally it's because the energy wasn't aligned first. I believe, as I'm sure a lot of you guys do, that what you feel internally manifests externally. And so if you don't have that in check, it's going to be very hard to expect the launch to be a success. All right, so do we get a copy of this? Yes, I will send you guys a copy of this. There's also a few worksheets that we're going to open up today that if you guys want the copy of, we could dive into that. So let's start with the energy of your output. There's 4 categories to this part. These may seem like basic things, but we're going to go into them a little bit deeper on why they matter. And sometimes even the simplest things are the best reminders. I found it to be in this industry, complexity does not equal more success. Complexity generally equals less success. We've just brought in a client who's amazing, love her to death, and she has probably the most complex funnel that we've ever dealt with. Just automations on automations, on triggers, on triggers, on triggers. And as a result, she's probably the most burned out coach I've ever worked with. And so we're doing our best to support her in handling, taking off as much as her plate as possible. But, she opted in for complexity. And I do not wish that upon anybody else. And so we're really looking to simplify her funnel to make sure that she doesn't work 18-hour days and can actually enjoy her time off. Because what's the point of all of this if you're just going to be a slave to your launches and a slave to your business? It's not why we do this. We don't do this to hustle our butts off. We do this because we want to make a big impact on the world. We want to live an amazing lifestyle. We want to support our family. And we want to do good work. We don't want to be a slave to our work. And so the 4 pillars of the energy of your output. 1 is the why behind the launch. 2 is the goal. 3 is your zone of genius in your launch. And 4 is the alignment of your team. I found that each of these is equally important when it comes to the success of your launch, even if they're not strategically based. And so we're going to dive into each of these a little bit deeper. I'm going to be asking you all some specific questions around these so we can make sure we're fully clear on them all. Everyone with me so far?
Yes.
Amazing. Awesome. All right. So let's start with the why. Now, why is the why important? Why is important because as things get tough, as you all have probably experienced, if you aren't centered in your own why for, and not just why for your business, but really why for this specific launch, then it's going to be easy to get swayed by the challenges that you face. And so what I would get clear on here is, what is your mission? Why does it matter? And why are you the best person to be doing this? And so I'm going to be asking a few of you this question to make sure that we're fully anchored in here. I'm gonna start with you, Nancy, just because you seem so excited to answer this question. So Nancy, what would you say is the why behind your launch, behind what you're doing? Why does it matter? And why are you the best person to do this?
Well, there's a couple different reasons for why behind the launch. One, I want to sell my coaching, right? Money's important, no money, no mission. But for the clients that I have worked with, influence seems to be a really big issue for them. They're not able to get their coworkers to buy into their ideas or their visions. They're not able to get their direct reports to step up and consistently perform the way that they need them to in order for the results of the overall team to be what the organization needs. And when they start to build that influence and they do it in a genuine way that's important to them, then they get to feel like they're them. They get to feel like they're bringing their whole self to the office and to their work. So they're not trying to pretend or play a role. And the work gets done, right? And they get amazing results. And as they continue to do that, they have fun. They're more engaged in the work. They're doing better at it. They're building their confidence, which means they're going to take bigger risks the next time and be able to have even better results. So it just compounds and builds structurally. So as these women continue to do that, they can move up higher in the organization and start building out a more equitable balance between the male-female ratio of leaders in these organizations.
Absolutely love that. And why are you the best person to support them?
Because I've done it and I've helped other people do it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do one more on this specific topic. Jackie, I saw you dancing over there, so I knew I had to ask you. Well, tell us, what is your mission? Why does it matter? And why are you the best person to be offering this?
On a global scale, my mission is to make suicide a thing of the past. On an individual scale, I know that looks like building perpetual optimism into your life. And when you have those pathways, I don't have to worry about talking you off a ledge. So that's the underlying mission. Why does it matter? I realized coaches and healers were struggling to make a living. And it made no sense to me until I realized they'd had a gag order. They couldn't speak about the results that they could bring because the industry believes that that puts them at risk for lawsuits and practicing medicine without a license and. So what we created is a way for coaches and healers to guarantee results for their clients. First session and every session. Why does this matter? It helps them stand out in a marketplace where people's marketing messages are really mushy. We get them really what I call crunchy, clear, concise, and compelling. What difference would it make in your life if you didn't have to carry around your emotional baggage? For most people, that means they could move faster, and they could sleep better. And they would stop looking over their shoulder.
Amazing. And why are you the best person to do this?
August 3rd, 2019, my middle daughter, Stephanie, gave a 7-minute message that matters. That's what I used to teach people how to do, how to sell in 7 minutes or less. What happened on that day is that she broke 23 years of silence and for the first time in her life publicly disclosed her suicidal history and the current rate of suicide attempts among teenagers in the United States, which was 3,000 a day. By the end of that event, everything that I thought was true about my life ended, and the mission to make teen suicide a thing of the past began. And on the journey to the TEDx stage, because I was told I had to take a stage on the topic of how to stop teen suicide in the middle of COVID when the rates were going skyrocketing, I realized what was wrong with my business all of those years, why I could get by but couldn't get ahead. And it's called having a secret. It's called not wanting people to know that I was the mother of a suicidal child. When I took the TEDx stage, which was released May of last year, I had no more secrets. So why am I the right person to do this? The best person to do this is because I know what it's like to live both with a lot of emotional baggage and secrets and fear and lack of authenticity. And I know now what it's like to live without all of that baggage. It makes a difference.
That's so much. Thank you, Jackie. That's amazing.
Welcome.
Awesome. So this is pretty, straightforward stuff. What I found is, many coaches are at least clear on their why. And, most of us get into this business because something happened to us and we know that we now want to make a change and make an impact on others. So is there any questions about this? Pretty straightforward stuff. Awesome. All right, let's keep this going. Really appreciating your shares. The next one is your goal. And so I want to hear from all of you. What is, all of you are hosting, a launch event coming. Let me know your goal. I'm looking for 2 goals. Your goal of attendance. So people you actually want to say it's 10, but actually sign up. Let's go with a 10 actually, because we know that there's going to be more people that need to sign up to attend. So how many people do you want to attend your launch event? And then how many do you want to actually sign up to work with you? Have all of you, does everyone have those numbers? And if not, I want you to come up with it right now and let us know in the chat.
50.
Okay. What comes up when you think of 50 people coming to the event?
I just absolutely start going to the how. How am I going to get 50 people to pay and show up, and where are they going to come from? I don't know. Yeah, all the hows just go like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so what I would love to ask all of you is, and again, you might be like, David, I hear where you're coming from, but you're crazy. But what if the how didn't matter? And what I mean by that is, we do a lot of launches with people. And what we always find is their number comes from a place of what they think they can do, not what they want to do. And there's always a bigger number when we ask someone, well, actually, if I really think about it, if I really sit with it, if I really feel into my highest alignment, what the number is this. And there's nothing wrong with shooting for a number that you think you can get. However, I've seen it time and time again that when people shoot for what they think they can get, they end up with a lower number. People shoot for 30, they end up for 20. I would much rather you shoot for 50 and end up at 40 than shoot for 30 and end up at 20. Does that make sense? Does that align? What I found is the more you do this, and so whenever I start a launch with someone, I always create 2 numbers. I create a baseline number, and then I create a stretch number. And then all of my energy and my team's energy focuses on the stretch number. And what we found almost time and time again is we generally end up in the middle. But here's something that happens that's really, really cool. is as we continue to do this with our partners and we continue to achieve beyond the baseline, we started to create a standard in our mindset that we achieve more than we expect. Because we had a baseline of 30, we shot for 50, we ended up at 40. I went beyond my limitations. I went beyond my baseline. You know, to give you an example, the event that we're about to host that we have 1,000 people that are showing up for, we set our baseline at 750. We set our stretch goal at 1,250 attendees to the workshop. We're at the day of the event right now. I just looked at our stats before this event. We're at 1,100. And I kid you not, every time we end up moving closer and closer to the stretch goal because we're creating the standard that we go beyond our goals, that we go beyond our baseline. And the more we do that, I believe the closer and closer and closer we'll get to our stretch. Does that align with everybody? So I'm going to pick on one of you guys here. Eric, would love to ask you, after hearing this, what is a baseline that you're comfortable with? And what is a stretch that you're really excited by?
Baseline would be 40, sign up 10. Stretch would be 100, sign up 25.
Amazing. And how does it feel to think about 100 people coming to the workshop and 25 people signing up?
100's a lot more exciting. It definitely gets me fired up.
Love that. And there's something really powerful about that energy of getting fired up. And I feel like all of us humans have it, where it's like, if we do something that is going beyond our limits, it excites us more, it moves us. And what I invite all of my clients to do is you want a goal that pulls you. You don't want a goal that you just think you can do. You want something that pulls you, because when it gets, those are the things that are going to allow you to go 110%. Not settling for your baseline. The stretch goal will pull you to do more. It'll pull you to think outside of the box. It'll challenge your limitations and have you question whether or not you're question some things that you haven't even thought about before. So my invitation to all of you is to come up with your baseline number and your stretch number. And I'm going to give you a couple seconds to come up with it right now if you haven't already. And then once you have it, post it in the chat. What's the baseline? What's the stretch? Baseline 40-10, stretch 125. Linda says, baseline 30 attendees, 15 signs up, stretch 60 attendees, 30 signups. Nancy, baseline 30 attendees, 10 signups, stretch 50 attendees, 15 signups. Jackie says baseline 100 attendees and 10 signups, stretch 1,000. Oh, Jackie, you're not kidding around here. 100 signups, let's go. I had a mentor say to me once, he said, David, what's something that you want to achieve that you believe is absolutely impossible for you? Then I told him, and he said, that's what we're going to work on in our coaching program. And I said, are you crazy? Like, why would we work on something that I think is impossible? You're just going to waste my money. I just paid you $10,000 and we're going to work on something that's impossible? Get out of here. But what that did, I didn't achieve the impossible goal by the end of it. And so this isn't one of those stories of miracles. But what it is a story of is that time that I spent working on the impossible goal challenged me more than any other period of my life. It brought out more of me that I didn't even know I had. And that's a lot of what this is about. Can you create something that brings out the best in you? that brings out the extraordinary in you. All right. So it sounds like we have everyone. Anyone else not right there, baseline and stretch yet? I think we have everyone. Awesome. Okay. All right. So let's keep this going. Number 2 of the energy, your goal. Number 3, your zone of genius. Who's heard the term zone of genius before? Everyone here know what it is? Amazing. So this is what we see a lot when it comes to the clients we work with is what slows them down in their events, what slows them down at the launch is they're spending way too many things that they don't actually want to be doing. Spending way too much time doing things that they don't actually want to be doing. And what I find is whenever I get sucked in to doing the things that I don't want to be doing, I lose my inspiration. I lose my motivation. I find ways to procrastinate. I find ways to stagnate the energy. I find ways to avoid. That's my habit, is avoiding. I'll pull up Netflix and say, hey, this looks more fun than this thing that I don't want to do. And so what I invite all of you to think about is what part of the launch, what part of hosting this event excites you more than any other part of it? If you could just choose to only do one part of this whole launch event, and you guys might not have a whole team right now to take care of it, but let's just, play into that hypothetical for a second. If your team could take care of everything and you only had to do one thing in the event that you absolutely loved, what would that be? Nancy says, present it. Give me the mic, Jackie. I can relate. I can relate to that. What are parts of the launch that excites you the most? Let us know in the comments. I agree with Nancy. I think this might be similar for all of you all. There might be some people different here, but mostly coaches come in here and coaches like to create, coaches love to talk, coaches love to coach. We like to support, and generally we don't like pretty much everything else. Just kidding. But we don't like, the admin stuff. Eric, are you saying the parts that excites you is setting up the tech and testing? Oh, dislike. I was about to say, Eric, damn, you are an outlier here, but I love it because some people really get jazzed up by this. My partnering with someone that had a different mind as me is one of the best business decisions I've ever made. You guys see Jim and Cindy. They're very different. Cindy's got the operational mind. Jim's a visionary. I believe every visionary needs an integrator. An integrator is someone who can take their big ideas, ground them into action, put the plan out, and execute. I started my company Beyond the Peak with my business partner, Oliver Wolf. He is an operations mind, like born bred operations mind. He thinks analytically, he thinks in systems, he builds systems, he turns chaos into systems, and I have no idea how he does anything. But what I do know how to do is I love to show up and coach. I love to support my clients. I even love to get on the phone and sell. I love to create content. That's where I live. I love to empower my team. And so we've been able to create a beautiful balance where he does the things that he loves and I do the things that I love. And what that has led us to is rapid growth. We had our first 50K month 3 months into business. People ask us how, and it's because we were in our zones of genius. It didn't feel like work. All we did is focus on what we loved, and we had other people focus on the other things that we don't love. And so we're talking about highest reward activities. What are the things that you absolutely dread or know that you aren't the best at? Now, we're not going to be able to replace all the things. Realistically, you need to be able to have the money to be able to pay the right people to support you in doing all the things that you don't want to do. But I recommend all of you think about what are some things in the launch, even if there are small things that you could get support in, that would allow you to focus more on what you love. I want to know what your guys' teams look like. So if you're a one-man show, just put the number in the chat of how many people on your team. If it's 1, click 1. If it's 2, put 2. If it's 5, put 5. Got 1, Joanne, Eric 1, Elise 2, Nancy 4. Yep, includes contractors as well, including VAs, including contractors. Basically anyone that supports your company. I wouldn't include like an accountant or anything, so don't put them, but anyone who includes, actually leading to producing activities in your business. Linda 5, Jackie 5, awesome.
And I'm going to say that's a downsize for me because I have been paying people to support me without me being able to adequately give them direction.
Right.
So it's been a challenge. If there was a gap, it's in having the person who can translate what my vision is into the tasks, the actual granular things that people can do for me.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Jackie. I'll go back to what I was saying earlier about an integrator role. And I invite you all to, after you have your first, so when I look at bringing on a team, the first person I generally look for is general admin support, someone who can just take basic tasks on my plate that doesn't require a whole lot of training because they're just simple things that make a lot of difference. So those are generally the first people I look at when I'm bringing on my team. The second person I look at is production. So who can I bring on to support my production? Simple things like it could be client management. It could be invoicing. It could be setting up the tech for your event. It could be setting up automations for webinar reminders, things like that. You might have to write the copy at first, but at first it could be those kind of things. So little things that seem like they don't take a lot of time, but they compound and take a lot of time. And so in my business, I'm always looking at who, not how. If you guys haven't read this book, it's an amazing book by Dan Kennedy. He illustrates the topic perfectly by literally writing a book called Who, Not How that he didn't write. He outsourced the entire writing and production of the book to someone who just interviewed him and then wrote the book on Who, Not How. Yeah, it's called Who, Not How by Dan Kennedy. Incredible read. And it has you begin to ask the questions, who, not how. And so at first, when we're starting business, we need to ask ourselves, who in terms of activity, who in terms of tasks. So I have this task, I do not want to do it. How can I outsource the who? It gets really exciting when you ask questions like what you just did, Jackie, which is like you need someone to take the ideas and translate them to tasks. Now you're asking who for outcome. Who can I bring on my team that could lead to a specific outcome in my business? So for example, I believe that once you have admin tasks outsourced, once you have a few contractors to support you in production, this could look like social media production, it could look like content, it could look like building your landing pages, just contractors that you hire one-off to support you in the things that you might not be the best at, your funnels, things like that. Then the next best hire, the big hire that you guys get to make is an operator or integrator. Now, the beauty of an operator and integrator is it's a super important role, and many of them are willing to partner with visionaries in their business and not just on a salary basis. And so, for example, I wouldn't recommend going to 50-50 unless you guys are building the business from the ground up, but some of integrators are willing to work off of things that are like bonuses, performance-based, and not just salary-based. And so an integrator can help you guys really run your team, can help you guys come up and take care of all the project management and really operate your business. Now, a lot of the time it takes a successful sales event to really get to the place where you can bring on someone like that. But I want you guys to start thinking about it, because the more you can consider who, not how, for me, this drives me as a leader, is when I think about the right people that I need in my business, I am even more motivated to have a successful launch event so I can bring those people on board. But like you mentioned, Jackie, if you don't have the room to train and support all those people, you need someone who can do that you can trust. And that is key. Where did I find my integrator? I was blessed, and my integrator is actually my best friend. And so we lucked out a little bit. We've been best friends for the last 6 years. It just so happens that we're completely different. But a lot of the time we attract opposites. And so I consider you guys to look into your life and see who are the opposites that you're attracting. Because if you're a visionary, likely you have an integrator that's hanging out around you that you might not even realize is there. Right? Jim literally married an integrator. He married Cindy, right? Opposites attract. And so I'd invite you, I have 3 of these people in my close network who I consider integrators and who could operate my business. I only need 1 of them, but I have 3 of them. And so I'd invite you to look into your networks, look into the people that are around you, and ask yourself, who's an operator around you that might be able to support you? Any questions, any other questions on your zone of genius? Who, not how, any of this? A really fun exercise. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, did you say that after a successful launch, like when do you think that it would be good to start even looking into that more, the integrator role more?
I would look into it immediately.
Yeah.
I would commit to hiring it when you know that there is the cash flow to support it.
Got it.
And I would invite you all to be open that cash flow doesn't, as mentioned, you can bring someone on who is open for things like bonuses, open for performance alongside your salary. So don't think you need to have a 6-figure salary ready for this person. You don't. There are strategic partnerships that you can make that will allow for you to pay them as your business grows. And many people will be open for that, especially when you have a powerful vision that they're aligned with.
Awesome. Okay, got it. Thank you.
So think about it immediately and activate it when cash flow allows for it. But I love looking for people even before cash flow allows it, even on the side, because that energy, I can see Amy's hand. I'm going to go to you in a second, Amy. That energy of looking for people also creates a feeling of abundance, knowing that you're building something bigger than yourself. Right? The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek is another book that I really, really love. And he talks about building business for the sake of it growing beyond you. And that's what you're doing here. And so there's no way you can continue to operate this forever on your own. Amy, question.
Yeah, so there's a point where, I mean, I have a bunch of virtual assistants, and I'm trying to manage all these people, and I definitely need a system. I've tried to do something like teamwork at one time, and not everybody was on board, and it's kind of, some people do it and some people don't, and it's just like, and it's just, so I know that there's a next level. What's it called? OBM? What is that term?
Yeah, and OBM is like a low-level integrator and online business manager. So that's kind of the term that I've been talking about with integrator operator, but it's more of a lower level of that. So online business manager, OBM, yeah.
Online business manager. Yeah. And so is that what you're saying, to try to bring somebody on like that? Or an integrator is basically what you're saying is implementing your ideas. You say, I have this idea, I want to do this. And they're like, okay, it's done.
Totally. They're like, and they're so an OBM is really an implementer role, which is super helpful because they say online business manager, it's thrown out a lot in the world of coaching and a lot of people don't really understand it, but generally an OBM is an implementer role. So it's someone that you could say, I need this done, go do it. I need this done, go do it. But they're a little bit more higher level than a VA because they don't need all the direction, right? So they're super helpful to have because they get shit done.
Mm-hmm.
An integrator is someone who will manage your whole team, who will be the communication to them, who will make sure they're organized, who will make sure they get the stuff done, who will do the thing. And then so you could focus on the things that you actually love, which is growing the business, doing the coaching, building the content, doing the creative stuff. An integrator is basically the connection from you to the business, but they're the ones that keep things flowing.
Yeah, well, and it's hard when you're they're working with other people too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't actually come into contact with those that many of those people.
Well, have you been looking? have you looked? Have you really been, seeking out that kind of person?
No.
That's why you haven't came
I
into
don't even
contact
know
with
where
them,
to find them.
right? And so
Besides
the first,
like a place like here, and I do have another business networking group, but yeah.
yeah,
It's
could be
building that
there, could
relationship
be
and that
Facebook group.
trust. Yeah.
It is 100%. And so, I'd recommend, just starting to look in places that you feel like they might be, and then just opening up those conversations, even if they're just simple conversations, and even if they're just relationships, or even if they're like, who do you know, who might be someone like this. But if you're having trouble, Amy, with, getting people all aligned to be doing a specific thing, in my experience, that's a leadership issue. And so, if you really want to get people aligned, my question to you would be like, how often do you have them all together where you're actually talking to your whole team, to all the VAs that are supporting you?
Right. Well, they seem to be doing what they need to be doing. So that's not an issue. I guess it's really, what am I willing to let go of? What am I willing to give?
That's a powerful question. Yeah, really powerful question, because most visionaries are the bottleneck to their business and the bottleneck to their launches. And so, people hold on to, a mentor said to me once, he said, what are the things that you, what is the thing that you're least willing to let go of in your business? And then I told him, I think at the time it was sales. And he said, what would it look like to let go of that? And I found that was a super powerful question, because it had me think outside the box with my own business of like, wow, I'm actually not willing to let go of this thing, but my life would be better if I did. Right. So we start to ask ourselves, what are our limitations? But again, we're our biggest bottleneck, and especially at, when we're in the intricate business of coaching, because a lot of the time we're the face of it all. And so if we're the face in our business and we're bringing out a team and they're who's supporting us and they're not us, well, there's no way they can do it right because it's my business. Well, what if we could trust them to do it right? What if they could believe in our vision as much as we believed in them? And that's our job as leaders, is to rally the troops, right? Is to connect them together. Is like, to me, everybody on your team, whether there's someone who works 5 hours a week as a VA, or whether someone who is, your assistant who works 20 to 30 hours a week, they're just as important to your vision. And so a lot of visionaries, they treat those people just as, people who do tasks. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? But how often are you creating a team dynamic with them? Are you connecting with them? Do you have a team call where you're rallying them together? Do they even know what your vision is? Why do they care? Right? And so I believe that contractors are an amazing way to start connecting to culture, to start creating that energy. Because the more we do this, what will surprise you is even VAs who are working 5 to 10 hours a week will start to go above and beyond if you treat them like that, if you treat them like they're a part of something. We have a VA in our team who works part-time, but I get messages every single week from him thanking us for the way we show up for him. Telling us that he doesn't have this relationship with any other companies that he works with. And so if you do that for people, they're going to be willing to go above and beyond for them, and it's going to be easier and easier to work with them.
And how often did you recommend people kind of connect on that level? Once a month, once a week?
At least twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least twice a month, I would do a team call with everyone if you can, and really just to rally on an update, where we are, how are you doing? Are you supporting them? I have some other things I'm going to share with you guys in a second around actual like launch specific calls that I always do with my teams that I think will really support you in getting at least aligned with your launches and events. And I'll get to that in just a second.
Okay, great. Fine.
Can we all get to move forward from this? Okay, there's a lot here, so I hope you guys are taking notes. And here we are, the alignment of your team. Well, we kind of got into a lot of this. So I want to give you a few recommendations on for your team, whether you're 2 people or whether you're 5 people, what you can do to really get the most out of your team to make sure that everyone is centered energetically around the results in your business. There are 3 calls that we lead in our partner businesses. So when I partner with a client, we do these calls, we lead them for our clients, so they don't have to think about them. But if you don't have someone like an integrator partner like us, then you would lead these yourself. We also lead these internally with our own teams. We'll do 3 main calls during a launch. So what we do is we structure our launches in 90-day periods. For us, it's just easier that way. And they're generally 6 weeks to an event, 6 weeks post-event is how we run it. We sometimes will do multiple events depending on the client, or we'll just do one big one, like the one we're having today. It's actually happening right now. Really exciting. Hope it's going well. And so 3 calls. First is the kickoff call, arguably the most important. This is before you even start marketing, before you start prepping the event, before you start anything. I recommend you lead a kickoff call with anybody who is going to have an effect on this launch. If they're building a funnel for it, maybe they're doing some admin for it, regardless of who they are, bring them on this call. On this kickoff call, you're going to go over 4 things: vision, goals, roles, and Q&A. And so the first thing I'll say to this is, you all are visionaries. All of you just shared beautiful visions for why you're here. How often do you let your team know that? My goal is every team call, I re-anchor us into the vision of why you're here, because your team isn't the visionary. They don't know. They're not thinking about this. They're not as connected as you. And so sometimes because of how passionate we are, we just think our team is going to be just as passionate as us. Well, they won't if we don't help inspire that action. That's our job as leaders. And so what I invite you all to do is lead a kickoff call with your team where you go over all of these things. 2, mid-launch check-in. So you're 45 days into the launch, do another check-in call where you can check on all the things you talked about. Where are we? Who needs support? And acknowledgements. I've seen time and time again that visionaries underestimate the power of acknowledging your team, the power of celebration, the power of motivation by leadership. I took a year off a couple of years ago to work within another company. Took a year off my business. It was before Beyond the Peak was created. And I worked with a company called Kaboom with one of my mentors, Preston Smiles. And they did this so well that I've never seen a team so fulfilled to work within a company. Every call, they would acknowledge their team. Every call, I would feel seen. I would feel heard. I would feel supported. Yeah, Jackie, I said 45 days. Why do you ask?
You said 45 days in is the mid range of a launch. And I get it. Okay, so you're talking about a 90-day launch, and I've been known with my team to launch things in 9 days. So it was just like, oh, really? People actually plan things out that far in advance? Huh,
Yep,
what a concept.
Yeah, I love it. And so when I say 90 days, I mean everything with the enrollment period included. So these are sales calls all up to the start date of your program. So generally it'll be like, maybe you'll do a few events that will lead to, you'll have a marketing period, you'll have your events, you'll have a sales period, and then you'll actually start coaching. And so that's how we generally structure our launches. And this gives us a lot of time to be able to make sure that everything is dialed in. I don't believe in a culture of reactivity. I believe in a culture of intentionality. And that's what we seek to create when we set it up in 90-day structures. So mid-launch check-in, and then finally, post-mortem call. Now, post-mortem call is post-launch. Overall celebrations and recognitions. What went wrong, what went right, and improvements for next time. I recommend having a growing document where throughout the entire launch, you're putting in, this didn't work, this worked, this didn't work, this was great. That way at the end of launch, you can actually review it with yourself and your team. Most business owners make the same mistake over and over and over again because they don't give an ample enough time to actually take a step back, breathe, and review. Very much as entrepreneurs, it's like, all right, we're done. Let's go to the next thing. what does Kaboom do? They sponsor it might be a different Kaboom. I'm pretty sure the Kaboom I work with doesn't sponsor the UC Berkeley Stadium. Postmortem, yeah. So review. What can you optimize and improve on for next time? You guys are all on a launch this time. How much did you learn from your last event? Right. Are you optimizing accordingly? If not, you're setting yourself up to make the same mistakes again. I talk to people who have been doing the same thing for years and they wonder why they're in the same place. It's because they never learned. They never adapted. They never grew. They tried and then tried the same thing and then tried the same thing. We get to optimize over and over and over again. Any questions around team alignment? Okay, amazing. So this is the last step to energy. Now we're going to get into the strategy of your output. 3 stages to the strategy of your output: the message, the funnel, and the conversion. This is simple stuff, but we're going to go a little bit deeper on it all. Because what I've found is most of the time, if you get the energy right, the strategy is a lot easier. Now, I know a lot of us get caught up with the strategy, but I promise you it's actually not the most important part. There's a gazillion ways to fill an event. There's a gazillion ways to fill a launch. There's a gazillion ways to launch a client. You just need one. And so we'll dive into that. First thing though, is the message. A lot of you have amazing messages. A lot of you, I heard you and I was like, wow, that actually really sticks. But I'm going to give you guys this strategy that I've used to really make sure that my events, my launches are aligned with the message of what my clients actually want, not what I think they want. So there's 3 categories to a really powerful message: perceived problems, blind spots, and desired outcomes. Okay. Most people focus all of their messaging on the middle category right here: blind spots, and sometimes desired outcomes. Most of the time it's blind spots. And so what do I mean by a blind spot? Let's take, actually, I'm going to ask one of you because it'll be a lot easier. Eric, let me ask you. What do you, what's the biggest problem that your client faces?
The biggest problem my client faces is getting in front of people who don't know them to attract them to their podcast, to grow their audience, full of prospective buyers, rather than just growing the audience for the sake of growing the audience.
Got it.
They're not attracting the right people.
Got it. It's not attracting the right people. Awesome. And so I heard you mention Eric Cures Invisibility. Love it. So I heard you mention podcast because that's your solution. So what do you know, Eric, that they don't? Why aren't they attracting? Why aren't they filling their audience with prospective buyers?
They lack a strategy. So I've had 30 years experience in radio building audiences and methodically doing it, identifying the single individual we want to attract and then building a strategy to attract that individual, rather than just going out and getting visible everywhere, doing it with an actual purpose and a strategy and leading that individual through a path to being your listener, consuming your content, creating a relationship with you, and then becoming a client.
Got it. Amazing. And so you would say that based on your experience, most people do not know that. And so they try to just put their stuff everywhere.
Exactly. Yep. They just shotgun approach, a mile wide and an inch deep.
Amazing. Are you going to be hosting an event?
I do not have one planned right now.
Okay. Got it. So this will be a great foundation for you for when you do plan one. Most people would take what you just said and base their event off of the blind spot that you just mentioned. So the fact that they don't have a methodical approach to actually attracting a prospective buyer. And so their event might be called something like why you need a methodical approach to attract your prospective buyers, something like that. The problem with that is people don't know what their blind spots are. They don't know what they don't know. And so if you market to what someone doesn't know, do you think they're going to opt in? No.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You said something really powerful, Eric. You said, their problem is that they don't have an audience for prospective buyers. Now, I would say that's a perceived problem. They know that they don't have an audience for prospective buyers. And so a more powerful event name would be something like how to create it, or like the 3 ways to create an audience of prospective buyers. I'm like, wow, okay, now let's go. Or how to attract your next 1,000 prospective buyers in your audience. Whoa, okay. How are you going to tell me to do that? And so what I invite you to do, and I'll share this sheet with you, is write down all of the perceived problems in your business that your clients have. Now, perceived problems are what they think their problem is, not what you know their problem is, what they think it is. Super important. Then I want you to go ahead and to the last section here and write their desired outcomes. So the desired outcomes would be what they know they want, not what you think they want, what they know they want. And the middle spot would be the blind spots. These are the things that you know they need to do differently for them to get from their perceived problems to their desired outcomes. All the things you need to do differently. And then this will come the hard part. You all get to commit to not mentioning the blind spots in any of your marketing. Not in content, not on your funnel, barely in your event. Why? Because your program is their blind spots. Your program will help them with what they don't know, but it will not attract them to you. And so the whole idea of a marketing funnel is to get them to the place where they're asking us the question, what do I not know that you can help me with? Melinda, why didn't someone tell me this earlier? I'm curious, Melinda, what's coming up for you in this?
Well, because the blind spot is like, oh, that's the juicy stuff. And I started creating events all around it. And I think it just because it was just so deep, like it was just too, they're just getting to know me. And I'm like, here's all your problems. I have the answer. And so I think, I think that they left the events feeling good, but then they wouldn't sign up. It was too much. So I think this is very helpful to continue. I mean, not talking about it in marketing is going to be interesting. I'm going to see how that works. To be able to not have to, transition from not saying that in the marketing and talking more about perceived problems.
Yeah, it's challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, it's not easy. And I love what you said there, which is like, you were giving them something like their deepest, darkest secrets. And like they were coming on and they were like, wow, she knows my deepest, darkest secrets. But the problem with that is they go ahead and leave feeling fulfilled in the sense that there's nothing else now. They got what they needed.
Yeah. Yep. That's happened for sure.
Yeah. But we always want to create the question of what's next. And the whole idea of your funnel and your event and your webinars is all to lead them to the place where it's what next, where they ask what's next, and you can direct them to the program. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Joanne.
Yeah, thanks. This is really great for me because I work with filmmakers. I'm sorry I was late, so I didn't.
It's okay.
But I work with independent filmmakers, and one of the things that I've learned is that their perceived problems, there's almost like no match with their blind spots, and so the way that it was taught to me was somebody said to me once, Joanne, you're always trying to serve your clients with broccoli and green vegetables, and you need to make a little sugar, So for example, my clients are always crazy to get into film festivals, So in order to talk to them with their perceived problems but how do you get into a film festival?
Mm.
The blind spots is that getting into a film festival is never going to help them get distribution or earn any money from their films.
Yes.
I can't talk about that because they're all they want is to get into that film festival.
Yep. Love that. Yeah, amazing awareness, Joanne. It's awesome.
One of the things though that is difficult about it is how to speak to people when their blind spots are so glaring. You know, that's one of mine.
Yeah.
One of my
Yeah, especially because it's like, you know it so well that you just want to freaking tell them, like, yo, you're not seeing this. Hello, this thing that you think you want is not actually right. Like, it's not gonna lead you to what you want. Why can't you see? And it drives us nuts. But that won't help them because we need to inform them and we need to get them into a place where we can confidently educate them and inform them in their blind spots. And the easiest way to educate and inform someone in their blind spots is having them pay to get them. Because if they pay you, they're committed to learning. If they pay you, they're committed to listening to everything you say. And so once you have that down, then it's like, all right, you're in the door. Let me tell you all the things you really want. And what'll happen when you do this is you're going to get a lot of people that come into your funnel, come into your event, come into your program, and they'll say, this is blowing my mind. And you'll be like, yeah, it's blowing your mind because this is your blind spot. This is what you're not seeing. And this is why I'm here. So I'm going to go, Debbie, you're first here.
Oh, I was just going to say, I saw somebody create a huge program. One time, she actually did 40 hours of video without testing, all about people's blind spots, and it didn't sell because people were recognizing, that that's what their problem was, right? And so they're like, well, we don't need that. She knew that that's what they needed, but that was, so 40 hours, that's a lot of time to waste putting that together. And then the other one is, I once had a client that was selling a very unique way to get in shape and lose weight and whatnot. And she was trying to sell the how. Like, nobody wants to know you have to diet and exercise. That's the way you do it, right? But they don't want to know about the climb. They just want to know what the mountaintop is ultimately, the desired outcome. And so, they just wanted to know they could fit into their little black dress, really, at the end of the day, right? So that's that product ended up being very successful because we switched her from being like all about the come to me and I'll help you diet and exercise, to let's fit into your little black dress.
Yes, love that. I had a coach that I work with, and he was all into helping people attract their dream partner. And his messaging before we started working together was why you're the reason why you're not attracting your dream partner. And nobody signed up because nobody wants to know that they're the reason that they're not attracting their dream partner. They just want to know how to do it, right? But no one wants to face it. And so, we shifted the messaging around to what was the thing? And it was something along the lines of what do you get to do to attract your ideal partner? I'm forgetting what it is right now, but it was something along the lines of just attracting your dream relationship, which is what they want, or to stop attracting people that are not in alignment with what they want, like something around there. And then his program was then to help them realize that they need to face their own shit and actually do their own inner work before they're going to attract a partner. But once they pay, it's easy to do the uncomfortable work, but no one wants to pay for the uncomfortable work.
Right. Exactly.
Amy.
Oops. I think you're kind of hitting on what's so I had an event called Commit to Love, but it may be too early in a sense, and again, it's like, where do I meet somebody? That's the pain. It's like, I don't meet people. I don't meet quality people. I did a video series, top places to meet somebody, but is that giving them everything? It's all about the inner work first before you can go out and meet the partner. And, of course, that's what my program does, but I have to get them in the door. And so, I am kind of playing with, how to.
Yeah. And see, I would say that when you went into best places to meet people, that might be a little bit too specific. Right? You're solving a great question, which is where do I meet people? But I would even go a step further and just ask yourself, well, what do they want? Well, they want to meet their dream partner, and they want to meet a quality dream partner. And so I would say something like, how you can meet and fall in love with your dream partner in the next 90 days. Like, I know that's like a little bit pitchy, and you can refine that a little bit better, but it's like, wow, I could actually do this right now. Like, I can go and meet and find my dream partner now. Like, I need to know how to do this. And then, it's going to be a lot about their inner work, but they don't need to know that right now.
Right.
So yeah, this is huge. And so I'd invite you guys to really ask yourself, where in your messaging are you talking about blind spots? Let your event be the first time that you mention blind spots. And then your program be the way that you actually solve it. Everyone clear on that? I have to head out at the 90-minute mark, so I'm going to go through the rest of this a little bit quickly because we got 10 minutes out here. Is that all good with you guys? Okay, awesome. So 2 more parts to this. The funnel. So I know this is a big thing for you guys. Where are the leads coming from? Where are they signing up? What are the actions you'll take to ensure they sign up? So these are basic questions, but what I found is when people are doing launches, the thing that you can do that will probably lead to the worst results is spending your time working on 11 different places where leads are coming from. The best thing you can do for yourself is focus on 1, maybe 2. And so if that is Facebook groups, great. If that is Instagram, great. If that is your email, awesome. If that is JV partnerships, amazing. But pick 1 or 2 max that you will dial in on to maximize on the amount of people attending. Doesn't mean you can't send an email to your list and post on social media and do those things, but pick 1 growth strategy for how you're going to get people into your event and dial that in. There isn't a better one than the other. Some could argue that whenever you do better than, you'll have marketers all day, every day pitch why their marketing strategy is better than the other. I've tried a lot of things. I've tried LinkedIn, I've tried Facebook ads, I've tried YouTube, I've tried Reels, like JV partnerships, all of it. And I found only what works better for me, not what works better in general. I found that JVs are where I thrive the best because I love building relationships. And so I love spending my time building relationships with people's audience, with people that I could then pitch to their audience to. Coming in here, Melinda.
Well, I was just giving a thumbs up.
Oh, a thumbs up. I thought you were asking a question. Got it. No worries. And so, if you're wondering how to fill your event, really ask yourself, 1, what's worked in the past? Right? What's worked in the past that already works? And 2, what can you just double down on? What can you just focus on that will drive growth? Now, I'd recommend that your strategy includes a method of growth. And what I mean by a method of growth is it needs to be able to lead to new people, right? So if your strategy is like email my email list with 100 people, well, like your email list with 100 people is only going to go so far. So that's fine. Email your list with 100 people, but what is your actual growth strategy that will lead to more people, right? Reels are huge right now. And if you're 2 weeks towards an event, I wouldn't recommend trying to drive a reel strategy, but is that it? Can you line up some partnerships where you can get them to promote your event? Are there Facebook groups where you can show up in to not just post your event, but build relationships and really dial that in moving forward? Once you have your strategy, 1 or 2, focus on it every single day, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes a day. Could be 10 to 15 minutes of building relationships. Could be 10 to 15 minutes of creating content. But whatever it is, focus on it every single day because you'll have a compound effect, right? It's not as fun hosting workshops with 10 people as it is hosting workshops with 100. And so know that if you compound a strategy over and over and over again, eventually it will lead to more people showing up. Don't have a lot of time, but any quick questions on this. I know most of you are like, David, tell me the strategy that I can do right now. And I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. But I feel like if I just tell you a strategy for you, won't do you justice. Because you need to find what works for you that you can really align with and do over and over and over again. A lot of my clients, it's Instagram and they own Instagram and that's their thing. My client that filled up 1,000 people at her on her webinar, it's because she's dialed in her Instagram game for the last few years. And now she has over 50,000 followers. And so we crush it with her. But dial one in and focus on it over and over and over again. Do not bounce to shiny objects because eventually you will burn yourself out and you'll have the same results over and over and over again. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Last thing I'll say here is just make it simple. Make it simple. Don't make it complex. Make it simple. Every part of the funnel. Where you're finding the people, make it simple. How they're signing up to your webinar, make it simple. Don't make people jump into 3, 4, 5 loops to get to your event. Make it really easy. Conversations lead to conversions, is what I'll say here. And so the more conversations you have, the more conversions you'll have. Open up your inbox, open up your chat, have conversations, talk to people. You need people to fill your events, to get new clients. Consistently have conversations. Allison.
You said that you would be able to share this, and I'm just wondering how you could share the presentation. Like you said, you could share the form. If you want to
I can share
email
the
it to
form,
me,
and
I'll make
I would
sure.
love to email it to you. Yeah, that would be the best way.
Okay. Yes, and then we'll put it in the minutes. And
amazing. What's your email?
It's Allison, ALISON at gtenow.com.
Amazing. Got you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you so much for so much value that you brought.
Of course. All right. Well, one more slide here, guys, before I finish off the next few minutes is the conversion. Now, a lot of this, we've talked about, but again, does your event, the main thing with your offer is, does your event paint the picture of what's next for them? And what I mean is your event needs to leave them asking what's next. It has to. If it doesn't lead to asking what's next, people are not going to sign up. They're not going to book a call with you. They're not going to take they're not going to take any next step because it doesn't feel like they need it, right? So they should not finish an event and be like, wow, I just got so much value. That was awesome. Right? I'm not pitching anything to you guys. So that's what you're going to get here. But in a situation where you are pitching someone, you don't want that to be the place. You want it to be, I got so much value, but I know I need to go deeper on this. What's next? And so ask yourself that question. How can your event lead to that next thing? And then what is your next step for them? And is it simple? Right? So are they buying your course directly from the event? If they are, awesome. Make it simple and give them an incentive to do it now. Right? By buying this today, I'm also giving you this. By booking your call today in the next 24 hours, you're also going to get this. Right? Sometimes we do discounts. If you book your call in the next 24 hours, you'll get $100 off your program. Sometimes we do value. I'm going to throw in this extra mini course for you if you book your call in the next 24 hours because I really want to serve you. Let the next step lead to their desired outcome. Okay, what I mean by that is they're going to leave this wanting more. They're going to leave this not yet in the reality that they desire. Let the next step lead to the desired outcome. By buying this course, it's going to lead you to X, 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 X. By booking this call, you're going to be able to get X, X, X. Right? By booking your call, we're going to go deeper on everything we talked about today on the call. I'm going to support you in getting clarity on these 3 things. And then we're going to talk about if it's an aligned fit to potentially work on our program together. Clear CTA, make the next step clear, give them a reason to jump in now, and don't confuse them.
If you have specific need or topic you want us to talk about, or maybe a particular challenge that you want to address, right? Reach out to us and let us know. We'll make sure to do an episode on that, right? We'll see how we can serve and support you. We're here for you to win, for you to make more sales, for you to reach that mountaintop and deliver the impact that you've been called to.